Oh yeah, Sexy Biscuits. Nice.
Longboard Bros, 1975. A using girls on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Longboard Bros, 1975.
Hey YouTube, Lawnboys Post 1975, and welcome to a vlog. I apologise there was no Wednesday vlog this week. I was a tad under the weather. But this is, if you've watched my channel recently, then you will know that I've done 2 videos and I'm essentially going to work my way through all my systems, but nostalgic memories of, basically. And I've done the Master System and I've done the PlayStation 2. And people seem to like these videos, you know. I mean, I like doing them. I can wax poetic about my memories, you know, of any such system I've owned in the past all day long, because it really is an enjoyable thing. I could be perfectly honest, I could just sit there and say them out loud to myself and not even record it and still enjoy it. That does sound ever so slightly odd, but hopefully you get my point. But one of the most requested ones I've had since I started doing these, and like most of these I've done previously, you can argue that if you've watched my channel for a long time, various videos here and there and things, you could probably piece together the stories of these systems. But the most sort of requested one I've had is PS1, because people know even back then, at great expense, I imported a PlayStation 1. Well, I didn't import it, it was imported for me and I bought it from someone. Pretty much a year or so, I guess, maybe to pinch under before it came out in the UK, and it cost me for that. But you know, arguably I got the better machine, and if you're happy to pay a price, it's worth it. But I think for most of us, the PlayStation 1 is a very, very important machine, because it was that first massive leap in technology over the previous generation. I've often said that to me the biggest leap is between 8-bit and 16-bit, but you know, because that was the arcades at home. But from a technical perspective, the biggest leap would be from the 16-bit to 32-bit, or actually no, because forget the 32X and shit like that. The PlayStation and the Saturn, although I didn't have a Saturn back then, so you know, that's another story. But yeah, the PlayStation, because it was, again, it was like bringing the arcade grunt, you know, particularly with titles like Ridge Racer, you know, and Cyber Sled, I guess, home. And also, it was, as pricey as it was back then, it certainly was nowhere near as pricey as a PC, so it was a very affordable alternative, particularly in its very infancy, when you could argue it was on par with the PC, certainly pre Voodoo and FX chip stuff, you know, FX chips I should say, sorry, or cards, if you will. Certainly, you know, before that happened, it was kind of on par with PC for, you know, a little bit of time. And yeah, it was a chance for people to get some real brute horsepower in their home. Now, it was a long time coming in the sense that we all kind of mocked it and dismissed it, which is Sony. Sony's entering the computer with a hardware industry, you know, what, console industry? Like, well, why? Stick to making TVs, Sony. Your TV's a shit hole. You couldn't do a console. How wrong we all were. And good, because it was amazing, and it forever shaped and changed the playing field in a positive manner forever. But yeah, I remember reading in the magazines and, you know, little glimpses here and there, and like many people went, it looks like a Fisher-Price toy. I actually love the design now. In fact, I think the PS1, you know, the Ico Mini one, is a beautiful looking machine. That's aged fantastically. But yeah, we mocked it, we looked at it, but we all drooled at the specs and the early, you know, glimpses of graphics and stuff like that. And then I'd been on a kind of small hiatus. I hadn't fallen out of love with video gaming or anything like that. Oh, bollocks. Temporary traffic lights really here in the middle of nowhere? Yeah, I hadn't fallen out of love with gaming or anything like that. But I was on a kind of small mini break hiatus, probably about a year between my Super Famicom and you know, getting this PlayStation 1. But I don't know why, something just burned in me, and I thought, I gotta have it, I gotta have it. I can't afford it. There's no way I can afford it, and you know, there's no way I could import one. And you know, I wouldn't even know where to, because even though the internet was around then, it's a far different place from what it is now for importing and buying foreign stuff. I mean, back then you were still kind of tied to the back of magazines, if you will. But for some reason, knowing that I really wanted one, but being in that place of mind knowing that I couldn't afford it, I was very lucky that my brother did this. Oh, I just given away the end of the story. I was reading because I still used to do this, the black and whites in the black of the newspaper, black and whites, on you know, like stuff you could buy. And this bloke, he was in where was it? Kingsfield. It was on the other side of Bristol, proper other side of Bristol, and he was selling a Sega Saturn, Japanese Saturn import, and a couple of PlayStations. He only had one left when I phoned him. I just phoned him out of curiosity, and then you know, that made it worse, because I can't afford this. I can't afford this. And then because I had a job, but it wasn't amazingly paid. I was a labourer basically on a brickie site, which is useful for buying games, but we'll get to that. And so I just asked my brother, just said, look, can I borrow the money? Like, how much is that? I went, oh, it's 450 quid, which is a lot of money in the early 90s, or mid 90s, I guess. Early to mid 90s, like a lot of money. Be considerably more now if you took into, you know, the cost, changes of cost and stuff like that. But, and he, I don't know why, maybe because he, you know, I'd always been like the console boy, import consoles and bought foreign consoles, and then he also thought like there would be a very, you know, shiny brand new system that everyone wants, you know, really powerful, in his vicinity, if you will, that he would have access to and get to play. So he agreed, you know, and that I would pay it back over chunks. See, I was always lucky that some way or another I would always be able to get these systems. I paid for them. More traffic lights? It always cost me, but I paid for them, but I always managed to get these must-own systems. And also, getting them before everyone else is epic sauce as well, because it gives you that sort of, really, Morge, what the fuck are they doing down here? Gives you that kind of exclusive nature. Oh, I got a case of beer in the back, I didn't realise. I shall enjoy that tonight. Yeah, you know, it gave you that exclusivity nature with your friends and stuff. I mean, many of my mates didn't even know this thing, what it was when I got it. But so we drove to this guy's house, and he actually had a Saturn set up and running, and I looked at that and just went, ooh, Daytona. And he said, yeah, look at it, mate, if I was you, get the PlayStation. It was hardwired. It had a proper conversion on it, by the way, so it was 60 hertz, and it was hardwired into an RGB SCART cable, which was brilliant, because that alone made it worth the extra. What was the PlayStation 2 when it came out in this country? £299? PlayStation 1, I should say, sorry. But it was a shit power thing. So this, and also the Model 1s, I still have the box. Maybe I'll use it as a thumbnail, even though that's misleading for what the vlogging nature of this video is. But anyway, I'm waffling ahead of myself. So yeah, RGB hardwired, and he just said, no, get this. And it came with one game. I don't think they had packing games, but he threw in a game. Too bloody right, 450 quid. And it was Cyber Sled, which, you know, well, my mum drove me there because I was reading the A to Z map, because this is pre-sat-nav, and this is how we used to do it. Tell your kids, seriously, we used to navigate with a piece of paper. Witchcraft. Yeah, so I was reading the A to Z, and we found this bloke's house, St. George, that's where it was. It means nothing to you unless you live in my neck of the woods. So yeah, we raced back. I got home, I set it up, fucking blown away. I don't know if anyone's played original Japanese PlayStation 1, but the pad cables make the NES Mini cables look like fucking huge, and the pads, it's hard to explain, are like 1/3 smaller. Really, seriously, look it up. But you know, it makes no difference to playing them. In fact, I didn't know that when I had it at the time, because obviously UK one. But yeah, it was just, yeah, I loved it. I mean, Cyber Sled now, you can argue, is a bit pants. Well, it is. But yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and adored it then. And graphically, it blew me away. But then, you know, it wasn't long before I was itching for new games, and there was, and this labouring place I worked at, that was in Kingswood. over the road there was an import shop. Like, of all things, there. It sounds random. Well, it was random even then. And they had Saturn games, PlayStation 1 games, Neo Geo CD games. I'd never seen a Neo Geo CD until then. And yeah, so I remember, and they were charging 75 quid, but I still had to. So I think the first game I bought was Battle Arena Toshinden, which again I absolutely loved and adored. And remember taking my system over my mate's house at the time. He didn't even know what it was or that it existed, and he actually called his brother, said, "You've got to come over here and see this thing that Dave's got." And we used to have massive battle. All right, now that might sound weird because it's a very, you know, linear, limited fighting game. But it was my first introduction to 3D fighting games outside of the arcade, and yeah, we had massive tournaments on that, and I loved it. And then the next game I bought was a bit of a stinker. I mean, it's got a charm to it now, and I've still got my original copy, and that was Motor Toon GP. Again, about 75 quid, and I bought it simply because on the back of the case it looked epic. No, you don't. There's a good boy. But that was kind of poor and silly and stuff like that. But, you know, so I had a good chunk of gaming with this before, you know, it came out officially. But what was kind of funny, and don't ask me how we found this out, but when it came out officially, that's when I worked out you could do, oh, by the way, we used to go up to the Virgin Megastore in London before it was out. And they actually used to sell import games in there. Actually, that's where I bought Ray Tracer from. I think I paid 90 quid for this. This is looking like I was rich back then. I wasn't. All this stuff hurt my pocket, particularly since that was Christmas and I bought that for myself. But anyway, when it came out, I don't know how I found this out, me and my mate, Andy did, but we found out that you could open the lid and put a piece of blue tack in the you know, the power shut off for when the lid's open, and then you would put your Japanese game in, boot it up, wait for it to get to the black screen with the PlayStation logo, and then swap it out for an English game, and it would work. So that was amazing. I mean, I did end up eventually chipping it, and that was something else. But yeah, so that was it. And Blockbuster would rent games then. Only I think it was actually Ritzy who were bought out by Blockbuster. Who remembers that? Ritzy or Ritz Video? Ritz Video. Those are the crackers. Yeah, so that gave me, you know, chance to buy English games, which were, well, basically half the price, I guess. Unfortunately, there were shit PAL ones, and my God, did I notice the difference, because I've been spoiled with, you know, NTSC land. Stay there, thank you. But yeah, and then PlayStation 1, official PlayStation 1 magazine came out, which was an absolute godsend, because you would get 6 sort of one-level playable demos on the front of it. Things like Doom, and 1 level of Loaded and stuff, and 1 level of Apocalypse and stuff. Oh, that was a godsend. That was an absolute godsend. And you get sort of demo-y, I don't know, could you argue homebrewy stuff, and little apps for like making funky effects, sorry, when you put you know, a music CD in. And yeah, it was just, oh, that magazine saved me so much money. I think the general consensus is that saved a lot of people money when the PlayStation 1, you know, first came out. And yeah, I loved it. And so my collection grew and grew and grew. Most of it at this point was PAL. I stopped importing games simply because of the cost, even though non-optimized PAL games were shit in comparison. It was just cheaper. I mean, remember something else we used to do that was really, really silly or mental was my mate had a whopping great fucking stereo system in his house, so he turned one of the speakers onto its back. I mean, this speaker was fucking huge, and stuck it under one of those like plastic chairs you used to have like at school or you would have in the garden now, and played Ridge Racer with that underneath and the bass blaring up through you. That was amazing, and that was a game as well. When you, I mean, obviously that was a launch title, but it was something else, which is, it is arcade perfect. Again, it's not, but back then it is arcade perfect. And then don't ask me how we found this out, but there was a bloke who was selling, and these were like Japanese ones, selling games, and you had to chip your console. So my mate took it apart and he found these chips online, chipped it, and then just so we could buy games off this bloke. Where's the speed camera? And yeah, we used to have to drive to Clifton once a week with an order, and he would you know, sell us these games, and they were about a tenner, which is all right. I mean, if you think about it, compared to, well, they're brilliant because they were you know, NTSC ones. Yeah, they were a tenner, and yeah, I mean, compared to, you know, PAL games, that was brilliant. But we then found out by sheer fluke when I found an advert, you know, in the back of a newspaper, which is, can you believe people had the balls to do this back then? some bloke was saying the same thing, and it was 4 games for a tenner. So we phoned him up and said, oh yeah, I'm doing this guy off in Clifton so-and-so, and you're so much cheaper and better. And he goes, really, you're doing that? Does this guy, does he live in this place? I went, yeah. And he goes, bastard, he's buying them off me and he's selling them on. And he was buying them off him and burning them and selling them on, allegedly. Yeah, oh my God, you got to remember as well, these games, like, they were done so you could run them on a power machine at 60 hertz as well and stuff. Like, they had, like, I don't know, little interfaces in front of them, like you get, like you used to get on like the shareware Atari and Amiga test games back in the day. It was let you set it. So what a fucking nerve people had charging 40 quid for an unoptimized PAL game when these were like, you know, some kid in his bedroom had done it and it would run better. But anyway, yeah, so chipset, and then we just started buying games off this guy, and it was through the roof amazing. Tekken 3, the first time I played Tekken 3, oh my God, I think a little bit of Wii came out. That was just great. And then Gran Turismo 1, oh, so much of my life into that game. That was another amazing moment. But I think the real one, and don't ask me how I did this, but I did this. I beat Metal Gear Solid 1 in Japanese, and that became, from that day, like Back to the Future became from day one my favourite movie. That became my favourite game of all time. And then there was when, you know, like, it was just weird how it happened. There was another person advertising the back of a newspaper, US copies of Resident Evil 2. I used to print up all the covers for these as well. I was kind of anal about that. But yeah, Resident Evil 2, when I first got that, and it's a story I tell, which is I was fortunate. I was starting a new job on Monday, but on the Friday I broke my wrist. And I say fortunate because it meant I could just play the crap out of this game. I sank so much of my life into that, doing it again and again and again. I still have a memory card with Tofu and Hunk on it. And, you know, I should put it in a little glass case and say, within this case lies said memory card with Hunk and Tofu on it. Thank you. 60-mile-an-hour speed limit, finally. Yeah, so just everything about this system was just utterly amazing. And eventually my mates caught up, and my brothers caught up, but they all, my older brother got, well, a Saturn, but my twin brother got, you know, PlayStation. But they all got the dodgy PAL ones, and so I was, you know, I was still in that degree, you know, a god amongst men. But then, you know, the other thing I want to end up on, which is weird, again, like, you know, with trading standards and stuff. I'm sure they were out then, but you used to go to Southmead Market on a Saturday morning and you'd just run into so many of your mates because they would all be there, just going around stall after stall after stall of hooky movies and hooky PlayStation 1 games. It was fantastic. It was good times. It's why it's one of my favourite sort of periods in gaming, just because so much access existed to games. And also it's funny because that's when it first started creeping in that you wouldn't actually finish games because you just had so many. You would just juggle around through them and things like that. But yeah, I could go on and on and on, but this video would just become stupidly long. And oddly enough, I'm almost at my destination. But yeah, the PlayStation 1 is, you know, will go down as one of my favourite systems of all time. One of the greatest and most important consoles of all time. And just one of the most enjoyable experiences I ever had, you know, with a console. And, you know, plus its exclusivity, or, you know, blew away my Japanese Mega Drive and my Super Famicom with my mates because this was something else. And yeah, good times. I love it, you know. PlayStation 1, you deserve all the respect in the world because you are a legend. Anyway, as always, I'd love to know what you think and what are your nostalgic PlayStation 1 memories. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.